A devout religious woman, 52 years old, loving mother, grandmother, and wife of 34 years, suddenly vanishes from her country home in the middle of the night, leaving behind all of her personal belongings and even the medical boot that was used to protect her injured foot. Lynn Messer's story has all the makings of a Hollywood thriller, but for one unfortunate family, it's a real-life nightmare they must live with every day. Lynn Messer, the wife of a prominent conservative lobbyist, Carrie Messer, had spent the days preceding her disappearance celebrating her newfound lease on life after her hip surgery. She suffered from chronic pain caused from a condition that the doctors wouldn't operate on until she was older. Her joy was soon shaken when the pain returned and she was given news from her doctor that the pain was originating from an area of bone they couldn't replace. She was prescribed new medications and went about to manage the pain the best she could. On the night of July 7, 2014, Lynn lay in bed with her husband and talked about future vacation plans and excitement over upcoming Bible classes before kissing him goodnight. At 4 a.m. that very next morning, Lynn's husband awoke to find his wife missing from her spot in the bed. He searched their home, finding her wallet, driver's license, phone, and medical boot exactly where she left them. He then moved his search to the outbuildings and surrounding gravel and paved roads leading from the property. After his search of the property and after contacting family to ask about Lynn's whereabouts, he contacted the local police. The police search soon grew to include the State Highway Patrol, the FBI, and canine dog units aided by planes and helicopters. Every possible location was searched within several hundred acres of the property, and every possible situation was taken into consideration, but none resulted in finding Lynn or bringing forth the reason for her disappearance. She remains missing to this day. A high-profile wife married to the supreme leader of the Church of Scientology has not been seen in public for over a decade, including by members of the Church of Scientology, yet every missing person report filed always ends as unfounded. Is it a case of someone so devoted to Scientology that they don't have time for public life of any kind? Or has David Miscavige, her husband, locked her away under what many church members report were bizarre circumstances? Shelly held a strong place in the Church of Scientology, often helping to run the organization when her husband needed to be absent from his post. It had been reported that she also was responsible for handling and attending to Tom Cruise, one of the church's most prominent members. 2006 is when red flags began to raise when Miscavige was a no-show to Tom and Katie's wedding. Member of the church at the time, actress Leah Remini, was severely reprimanded and harassed for asking questions about the whereabouts of Mrs. Miscavige. So much so that she decided to leave the church after 30 years. 2 missing person reports have been filed since the last time Miscavige was seen, the latest of which was filed by Remini herself in 2013. Both reports were closed as unfounded by the LAPD. This would insinuate that Shelly is alive, but doesn't answer the question about why she hasn't been seen in 10 years by anyone outside of the LAPD or her husband. It should also be noted that certain high-ranking officers within the police department had been participating in church activities at that point, so a conflict of interest may be a part of the situation. In May 2016, a bombshell was dropped by David Miscavige's father, who had decided to leave the church himself. After leaving, he decided to write a tell-all book that details what may have happened to Shelly. In his book, he states that she was classified by her husband as a non-person and then banished to live in isolation in a secret church headquarters in California's secluded San Bernardino National Forest. If any word of that is true, that would warrant a prompt investigation into the situation. The church itself has denied all allegations made by the parties questioning the whereabouts of Shelly Miscavige, and as of the making of this video, she has still not been seen by anyone in the public or in the church since she was last seen in 2007. 24-year-old crew member vanishes from the deck of a Disney cruise ship. Disney management says the girl fell overboard during an unexpected large wave, but some evidence points to the possibility of something more sinister taking place. Articles of her clothing found aboard the ship were discovered to be ripped and tattered. Is the company that is responsible for the happiest place on Earth covering up a homicide to protect business? Rebecca Corium, an outgoing Plymouth University student who studied sports science, started working for Disney Cruise Lines in June 2010. She was away from her family for months at a time while working as a crew member. She returned home for 2 weeks after her grandfather died, and then promptly returned to her post aboard the Disney cruise ship known as Wonder. It was the last time her mother and father saw her in person. 6 weeks after rejoining the cruise ship and disembarking from Los Angeles to the Bahamas, Rebecca sent what would be the last message her parents received from her. It simply stated she was going to call them tomorrow. Her parents grew worried when, after almost 12 hours later, they hadn't heard from their daughter. Later that night, as they were going to bed, the phone finally rang, but it wasn't their daughter. It was an official with Disney calling to notify them that Rebecca was missing. Rebecca had not reported for her shift that morning, and after a search of her room, the ship, and several pages over the public address system, she was nowhere to be found. Security camera footage revealed one appearance of her at 5:45 a.m., talking on a phone and looking upset or panicked. An unverified report from a fellow crew member stated she had gone overboard at 3 a.m., which isn't possible because of her appearance on security footage. The ship falls under Bahamas jurisdiction since it is registered in the Bahamas, and a single detective was sent to investigate from the Bahamas police force. He flew to Los Angeles to begin his investigation as soon as the ship docked. Rebecca's parents were flown from their home in England to meet the ship when it returned and met up with the investigating officer when they arrived. They were stunned to discover that he was already returning to the Bahamas after a single day of his investigation. He had only interviewed a handful of crew members and 0 passengers during this time. They also reported Disney kept them in a car with blacked out windows and only allowed them to board through a back entrance once all the passengers had exited. They were presented with Rebecca's belongings before being sent on their way. A couple of months after the Coriums returned home, they received an email from their daughter's bank stating that one of her accounts had seen activity since Rebecca's disappearance. The card belonging to the bank account was not in the belongings that were given to the Coriums. However, this did give them a sliver of hope that she may just be alive out there somewhere. A few short months passed by when they were alerted to the fact by Rebecca's uncle that her Facebook password had apparently changed by someone unknown. Afterwards, and once again, the trail of information for Rebecca went quiet. There has been stinging criticism from the parents for a botched investigation, as well as several theories as to what might have happened to Rebecca on that early morning aboard a Disney cruise ship. The simplest being what the Disney company believes, that she simply fell overboard from standing close to the railing while the ship was experiencing extreme turbulence from a wave. However, this does seem unlikely as the ship itself is built with kids in mind. The railing is very tall. Disney Cruise Lines had never had someone go missing until this, much less someone fall over. There are also rumors of a possible love triangle involving a man and another woman. The Coriums have asked the two who were aboard the ship that were supposedly involved in the love triangle to come forward with any information, but to no avail. A reporter, as a favor to Rebecca's parents, booked a voyage on the same Disney cruise, same crew, to try to find more answers. After questioning several employees about Corium, she was given the official answer they were to give. It never happened, along with subtle hints that Disney and the Bahamian police knew more than what they had publicly admitted. The phone Rebecca had used was an internal ship phone, and all of those lines are recorded. The employees stated that there are cameras all over the ship and that the likelihood of her only being seen once that morning on camera were near impossible. What happened to Rebecca Corium? Is she living the good life in another country, participating in a heated love triangle? Did she fall overboard and drown? Who was using her bank account and who accessed her Facebook? Does Disney have more details that they refuse to share, as crew members have testified to? We may never know.